Hey, it's Chris. Man, I love making Apple Watch videos because it's so easy for me to talk about this product, which I'm so excited about. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna let you know what my setup is gonna be like for the next year. The model I got, the watch faces, my dock, some straps, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm gonna talk about all the new features this year, all the new features, and what I think about them. I'm gonna give you some buying recommendations at the end, and I'm also gonna tell you what I think the Apple Watch is still missing. As you expect, timestamps down in the description. Let's get into it. Today's video is sponsored by BandWerk, German-made luxury Italian leather watch straps that promise extraordinary comfort, and yes, this special edition I'm rocking is made from the interior leather of a 1986 Porsche 911 G-Series. Link in the description. So, kind of like I did for the iPhone 11 and Pro review that just got posted yesterday, I want to tell you about what my Apple Watch setup is going to be like for the next year because, you know, you're going to be seeing it a lot. And I'm going to be doing some extra reviews of this as we get like 3 or 6 or 9 months down the line. This year I went with this space gray aluminum casing with LTE capabilities. Why? Well, it's pretty easy. I know most people are going to go with an aluminum watch, so I wanted, again, to have the most hours in with that model to get back in touch with you guys and be like, here's what it's like, here's how it's going. Also, I like the lightness of it, right? Nice and light. The LTE I'm going to talk more about in the end of the video, in the recommendations section, so hold tight for that. But yeah, I mean, last year I had a silver aluminum Apple Watch, and I just kind of wanted to mix things up, go back to that darker style, and so far, I'm loving it. Now, you guys know, like, I've done the whole ceramic thing before. The Series 3 was a ceramic, and I got burned when it came time for trade-in stuff. So, and I've talked more about that in my Apple Watch buying advice guide. So if you haven't seen that yet, I will link it up down below so you can check it out for more info on that. But yeah, aluminum, nothing wrong with it, like it. So let me take a minute and just tell you about how I have my Apple Watch set up moving into the Series 5 era. So I started things all the way over from scratch this year. You know, I didn't import any old things or apps or whatever. Same with my iPhones. Totally started from scratch and just kind of having a brand new experience. Because sometimes you gotta do that. Sometimes you get bogged down with all this legacy stuff and all these apps and settings that, I don't know, it's just nice to have a fresh start. So that's what I did. Let me talk a little bit about the watch faces that I've got loaded up on here that I'm excited about, that I'm actually gonna be using. Because for me, I kind of treat the watch faces almost like workspaces. And I've got like different ones for different stuff. So I got one for like work stuff. I got one for like fitness and health stuff. And I got one for entertainment, for instance. And then all the complications sort of act as shortcuts to get me into whatever mode I'm into at the moment. Now, I'm still not super into the infograph watch face because for me, it still feels a little bit too cluttered or a little too complicated, if you will, because of all the complications, get it? But I'm well aware that so many of you love it, it's your favorite. That's cool, I'm happy for you, it's just not my thing. I am, however, rocking the infograph modular watch face because I really like that long horizontal big widget complication. And the main thing that I like it for is for the hourly weather forecast. Like being able to see ahead. Meridian is a super clean watch face. I'm really into this one. And as we go along, you're gonna see, got this like black and white theme going on all these watch faces, Stormtrooper style. But on this one, I got that air quality alerts complication loaded up because Colorado is really getting polluted these days. Air quality alert like all the time. So I gotta know about it. I've become a really big fan of this California watch face. It looks great, it looks amazing on my new setup. Really like it. The thing that I do with this is load up the date, got the time, and I put the music complication in there. I'm gonna talk more about music in my Apple Watch in a little bit, but that's all you need. Style, time, date, music. Boom. Numerals Duo came preloaded. I left it on there, but I changed the color because it's just like a master class in minimalism. It's just dripping with this minimal aesthetic fire sauce. This solar dial is not one I'm gonna use, but I had to leave it on here to show you guys. I'm just not a big fan of it. It's new, but it doesn't look too cool for me. Like, I wish I could change the colors. Like, the blue is just not going with everything that I got going on. But I get why some people are gonna like this. Like, seeing the sun and where it's at. Like, if you're really into photography, you gotta hit golden hour, you know, at whatever time of the day. It's interesting. I just don't like how it looks. It looks really old school. Finally, I still got the Siri watch face loaded up. I told you guys that was like my favorite a while back. The thing is, I've been using it so much, I kind of need a break. But I love how it contextually like loads up stuff throughout the day. I do really like it. It's just, I'm getting kind of tired of it. So in my dock, and there's two ways you can load up your dock. You can do favorites or you can do recents. I was gonna go with recents and just see how it goes, but the thing is, I went back to favorites, which is how I usually have it set up, because there's certain things that I just wanna be able to get into with no friction, know exactly where it is, and so here's what they are. Messages, alarms, and actually I do get in and change my alarms quite a bit. It's not like the same time every day for me. Like if there's a huge edit like the iPhone video yesterday, maybe I need to wake up early. I'm usually up at 4, but I got up at 3 to get that video done sooner. So I need quick access. Music, voice memos, Streaks, and Streaks is a third-party app. I've talked about it in some of my Apple Watch app videos before. I'll try to link those up down below too, or you can just search for them, Daily Tech, Daily TEKK, Apple Watch apps. Reminders, camera remote, and activity. Just a quick note about the bands that I plan on using this year. I mean, my default band, my go-to, is usually the sport band, just for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't have to be too careful with it. And that's kind of important. If you're bumping around, if you're running, if you're at the gym, you don't want to smash into stuff and get all messed up, that's good for that. Also, it's just very comfy. And number 3, it's really fast to get on and off. And that matters sometimes. I've had my eye on Apple's leather loop band for a while now. I stay away from the Milanese loop. Like, the metal's cool, but I heard that there was some issues with the magnets or whatever, so kind of steering clear. So I don't know, kind of aspiring to that band. Might check it out this year. In fact, planning on it. And then other than that, I have quite a collection built up of third-party and other Apple Watch bands. And so it's kind of fun, maybe like for a special occasion or just to like switch it up, because you can get really bored with stuff, and it's nice with the Apple Watch, you can switch these out like anytime. That's one of the benefits. Now, there are some new features this year. It doesn't seem like they're kind of things that most people consider like huge new additions, but I mean, we do have the always-on watch face. We got a new compass. We have emergency SOS internationally now in several countries. Oh, we got 32 gigs of storage now for your music. I misstated that and said 64 when I should have been talking about the bits in the last buying guide video, so quick correction there. And really the other thing is that we got some new materials this year. We got the titanium, and then the ceramic has made a comeback. And also the aluminum is now 100% recycled, which is actually pretty cool. But before I start talking about all this stuff, I just want to address like some of the things that people don't really think about that have made the Apple Watch so great for me. Because if you're somebody who doesn't have one yet, and even if you have one, maybe you need to like remember some of these things. These are the reasons why I'm excited about the Apple Watch in the first place, and why for me it's such an upgrade over a traditional just analog watch. Number 1, music. I use my Apple Watch to listen to music all the time. It's like my primary way of listening to music with my AirPods, because it's so fast and convenient, like drop dead convenient. So if I'm at my desk and like typing something, I'll throw on some music, because it's just like grab your AirPods, put them in, and then go to the California watch face, boom, tap on music, and you're going. It's already connected. It's so good. Also, when I'm filming B-roll for these videos, right? Nobody's around, and just me and the products get kind of boring, so it's either a podcast or music when I'm doing that. And of course, music when you're exercising, which in my case is like music when you hit the treadmill. But yes, music on the Apple Watch, it's so cool. It's my go-to music experience. And then there's some ecosystem stuff, right? Like people talk about the Apple ecosystem, how good it is. Well, a lot of that has to do with the Apple Watch for me. One of the big things is unlocking my Mac with my Apple Watch automatically. A couple other quick examples is like controlling the camera on my iPhone with my Apple Watch. So you got a big group of people and you got your phone set up on a tripod or leaning up against a rock or something, and you come back and get in the picture and you hit the shutter and you do the timer stuff. It's super convenient. And another thing is just like the Apple TV. You can use it as a remote. I don't use that very often, but like it's amazing that I can. Apple Pay, and specifically Apple Pay on the Apple Watch, has become just a huge part of my life, like my default way to pay for things. I don't use Apple Pay on my phone, right? I never take it out and tap and like pay that way. When I use Apple Pay, it's always on my watch. And especially now that Target got their act together and I can pay there with my Apple Watch. I was waiting for that forever. And now that a lot of gas stations in my area are finally doing the contactless thing and I can use my Apple Watch, that's something I couldn't live without. I mean, I could live without it, but I wouldn't want to. Of course, there's the actual telling of time on the Apple Watch. That is a big thing for me, because I went the whole day yesterday without my Apple Watch, because my other one was all glitchy from the beta that I had loaded on it, and I knew I was getting the new one, but I hadn't unpacked it yet, so I went the whole day without it. And I didn't like using my iPhone as a watch. It was like a pocket watch. I had to reach in my pocket and take it out. It just was missing the chain. And look at the time, put it back. Like, no, that's not cool. That's not convenient. So yeah, the actual telling of the time. And just the last thing I want to mention, I guess this kind of ties into the ecosystem because of iMessage, but the Apple Watch is still my favorite place and way to message people. All right, so let's get to the biggest of the new features, which is that always on display. The question is it actually better? And the answer is yes, it is. Because here's the thing. I'll give you two examples. When I'm typing at my desk and when I'm driving and I got my hand up on the wheel, I can actually glance at my watch without having to make some crazy arm motion, right, to get it to activate and see what's going on. See the time, check the complications, whatever. I like that. When I think about life with the Series 4 and below, that was kind of ridiculous, right? I put up with it because it was the best-in-class Apple Watch experience at the time. But yeah, I really do like this, always on display. I also want to say the always on thing, it's great, it needed to happen, but at the same time, it's hard for me to feel like this was a big new flagship feature that was a reason to upgrade, because it seems more like a nice also feature. Like, we have this great new feature and also the display is going to be on all the time from now. You know, like, so for it to be like the flagship thing this year, because a compass definitely isn't, you know, it's nice, but is it flagship worthy? I don't know. So the technical details about how this always on display works are actually pretty interesting. I'm not going to bog way down into the actual technicalities, but I mean, suffice it to say, no, there's like two different modes. You have the high power mode and the low power mode. And when it's in low power mode, where you can still see it, it's acting differently because there's actually a different version of each Apple Watch face for that low power mode. So things like animations get turned off and obviously it gets dimmer and the refresh rate changes. It's pretty cool. Now, when you hear always on, you might be thinking to yourself, it's always on, like no matter what. But that's not really the case. It's actually only always on when it's on your wrist, number one, and when it's on a watch face or in workout mode. Other than that, it's not always on. So if you take it off and it's just hanging out on your desk or whatever, not charging, then it's not always on. And if you think you're gonna load up an app, like your favorite app, and there's lots to choose from, check out my app videos for Apple Watch, you can't just have that on all the time. It's gonna change back into a watch face, for instance. So long story short, the always on thing, it really mostly applies to telling the time and seeing the complications. Now, in relation to the always on display, I've seen a lot of chatter about, is it going to affect battery life? Because Apple says it's not gonna affect battery life, right? Basically gonna get the same battery life. But I've seen several people being like, oh, it's definitely worse battery life, and just having a huge cow about it. The thing is, for me, maybe the battery life is slightly less. I don't know, and I don't really care because already I'm used to charging my Apple Watch every night. I'm used to it. It's not a big deal. My life wouldn't be better if I only had to charge it like every 3 days, for instance. It's just part of my routine. It's not hard. One thing that's kind of interesting is that if you turn off the always on display feature or mode, which you can do, then you might be able to juice that battery and get a little bit extra battery life. But for me, it's not something I'm even interested in testing. Like, you can check a different channel that maybe is going to test that because I don't care. I want the always on display. That's the whole point. And I know I'm going to charge it at night. So whatever. Okay, so one of the features this year is a compass. And this is kind of funny to me. Like, I know that some people might actually be able to use this if they're hiking. It's like the only thing I can really think about. You guys probably have other use cases, but like if you're hiking and you're way out in the woods and you're super into like backcountry stuff, then maybe you're going to use the compass. But for me, even like when I go hiking, because I do live by some mountains, if I go hiking, I'm just like following the trail. I'm not like, I need to go north 72 whatevers and like checking my compass. No, man, I'm just like, find the trail, follow the trail, go till I'm tired, and head back. You know what I mean? I'm not using a compass in any crazy way. On the other hand, it's kind of cool that it exists, and it looks really kind of interesting in the complication form when it's just on your watch face. I mean, somebody's going to get some use out of this, but it's not a huge feature to me personally. If there's anything that the Apple Watch could be said to be missing, then it might be support for third-party watch faces. So Apple's locked down the Apple Watch pretty good, pretty tight. And I think it really has to do with design. Like, they don't want a really crappy design being shown on the Apple Watch face and like people seeing it and be like, oh, that's the Apple Watch. You know what I mean? But I think there could be room for this. A lot of people make a big deal out of it. Like they really want this feature. And for me, it's not gonna make the Apple Watch really any better or worse because it's already pretty great as it is. So in just a second, I'm gonna get to my recommendations and buying advice, whether you should upgrade if you have the Series 2, 3, 4, whatever. Siri, no! But first, if you own an Apple Watch or are buying an Apple Watch, you owe it to yourself to check out our sponsor today, BandWerk. If you're looking for an ultra high quality, handcrafted leather strap, BandWerk has you covered with 4 different collections. The Paris collection with thinner leather, the Berlin collection with Russian calf leather, the Stockholm collection with vintage leather, and the exotic leather Zurich collection. Not to mention the special editions. So BandWerk bands have 2 clasp choices, the Italy Thorn or Butterfly. They can be engraved or hot stamped. And if you look around, they've got waterproof and synthetic options. And by the way, the lugs are gonna perfectly match your Apple Watch variation. This is pretty mind-blowing to me for a watch band, but in order to make each band, BandWerk goes through 172 different steps. Wow. So take my word for it. There are a lot of cheap bands out there and they break and disappoint. It's happened to me many times. With BandWerk, you are going to be happy. Check them out using the link down in the description. All right, so let's get into who should be buying the Apple Watch Series 5. Let's start with the Series 4 owners. If you have a Series 4, is there enough of a difference here for you to pull the trigger and buy the new Apple Watch or do a trade-in or whatever? If you're somebody like me and you love the latest and greatest and you really like Apple stuff, I mean, that's a no-brainer. But if you're somebody who's like, is the feature set there or is it too similar to what I've already got? I think probably for most of those kind of people, this Series 4 is gonna be just fine. But it should also be noted that older Apple Watches, Series 4 included, are not going to get that always-on display functionality through like a software update because some technology in the display actually changed. So you can't be expecting it, even with watchOS 6 when it comes out. And let me know if you guys want to see a watchOS 6 video. I don't think I've really gone in depth there. So if that's something you want to see from me, let me know down in the comments. What about if you have a Series 3? Is there enough of a difference for you to upgrade? In that case, I would say, yeah, if you found the Series 4 appealing but you didn't pull the trigger, maybe you would with the Series 5 because you are gonna get some new sensors, like EKG, a different screen. For me, it's gonna be worth it. And I talked a lot about this already and in more depth in my Apple Watch buying advice video. So again, go check it out. What about if you're coming from a Series 2 Apple Watch or before that, like the original? I think that's pretty obvious. There's a lot of new tech since then, and if you've held out this long, you should definitely upgrade. I mean, speed really matters. Upgrading from one of those originals, like it really helps in terms of how long it takes an app to load or something. So yeah, definitely. And do you need the cellular or LTE connectivity on your Apple Watch? The last couple years, I have bought or gotten the LTE models because I just like the idea of having it like as a backup, being connected no matter what, being able to leave my phone and still stay connected. Sometimes it's great to know that you're not off the grid, still be able to, take a phone call, especially with AirPods, or do some messaging, but not have the rest of your phone with you, like all those apps, all those distractions, like on the weekend or something. So there are real benefits to it, and it's just a matter for you of deciding, is it worth like $10 a month or whatever your carrier is gonna charge. Personal preference. Wow, it seems like this video really breezed past and there wasn't all that much to talk about, unfortunately. Maybe something really crazy will come with the Series 6. I don't know. Leave me your questions though down below. I'll try to answer those in the first few days that this video is up and the community can chip into and help get your questions answered. Don't forget though, you can follow @DailyTech, spelled Daily T-E-K-K, on Instagram and Twitter, is where we're most active. And if you haven't yet and you're serious about getting a new Apple Watch, go ahead and check out my Apple Watch buying advice guide. I'll link it up.
Everything you need to know about Apple products is at Apple's website.
Siri's driving me nuts today. But it's really useful though, and it goes into a lot of details that this video didn't. So check it out. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.